Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We have 2 monologues left in Mucedorus and then we're done with this one, but that's still 2 more monologues that we need to get through. And today's is from Mucedorus in Act 1, Scene 13. So where we are in the grand scheme of things, Mucedorus, in begging for his life, now finds himself a servant to Bremo, who is still living with Amandine in the woods, and he has promised that he's going to make her his queen, and she really wants nothing to do with that because she's still in love with the shepherd. Mucedorus is disguised as a hermit. And at the beginning of this scene, at the beginning of Act 1, Scene 13, we had Mucedorus coming in saying, Bremo is disgusting, he's horrible, he kills everyone and everything. Who on earth would be his servant aside from me? Because Amandine is here and, I'm kind of sticking it out for her sake. And then she enters and the two of them get to do a little bit of kind of sort of flirting, and he's like, so you were in love with this shepherd? Tell me more about this shepherd. I'm curious to know how you met and what you like about him and all these sorts of things. And she starts to tell the story, but then Bremo enters and is like, what are you two talking about? And Mucedorus responds by saying, if needs I must, lo, here it is again. When as we both had lost the sight of thee, it grieved us both, but specially thy queen, who in thy absence ever fears the worst, lest some mischance befall your royal grace. Shall my sweet Bremo wander through the woods, toil to and fro for to redress my wants, hazard his life and all to cherish me? I like not this, quoth she. And thereupon craved to know of me if I could teach her handle weapons well. My answer was I had small skill therein, but glad, most mighty king, to learn of thee. And this was all. So Mucedorus is lying. He is flat out lying here. What he's saying is, if I have to tell you what we were talking about, we were very upset that we didn't know where you were, and she specifically gets very upset that you're wandering around the woods because what if something bad happens to you while you're trying to do all these wonderful things for her? That makes her very uncomfortable. So she came to me to ask me if I could teach her how to fight, because then she could either help or she could protect you or she could protect herself or any of that kind of stuff. He's like, but I don't know how to fight. Me, the hermit, I don't know how to fight. So we would love to learn from you how to fight. And Bremo's like, yeah, I could do that. I could teach you. So here, take this weapon. And she's like, oh, that's too heavy for me. He's like, all right, you try this one. And Mucedorus is like, okay, well, tell me, am I holding it right? And like when is the best time to attack someone? And Bremo's like, when you can. And he's like, and make sure that when you attack somebody, you go for the head. And Mucedorus is like, okay, so it's sort of a now or never thing, and you should strike the head. And Bremo's like, yep. At which point Mucedorus whacks Bremo over the head, knocks him out cold. Bremo is now dead. And Amandine and Mucedorus are like, oh, he's dead now. So continue the story about the shepherd. How did you meet him? Where did he come from? And how much do you miss him? At which point Mucedorus then reveals himself to be the shepherd. And she's like, Mucedorus, is that you? You were there the whole time? And he's like, yep, it was me. The whole time I've been here, and let's run away together and let's live in Bremo's cave for a little while until they stop looking for us, and then we can go and build a life somewhere. And she's like, sounds great. At which point Mouse enters and trips over Bremo's body, drags the body off stage, and then re-enters saying, my master's looking for you. And he calls for Sagasto, and Sagasto comes in, and I almost visualize this scene as Sagasto holding onto one of Amandine's arms and Mucedorus holding onto the other, being like, she's mine, no, she's mine. And she's like, I don't owe you anything. And he's like, yes, you do. Your father promised you to me. And she's like, no, but my free will was involved in that decision too. And I would rather be with the shepherd. So there's a bunch of back and forth there until Mucedorus is like, all right, fine, you have 3 men standing in front of you, because suddenly Mouse is also now in the picture. He's like, you can have Sagasto, you can have me, the shepherd, or you can have Mouse. Who do you want? And she says, obviously I want the shepherd. And he's like, hooray! But, that means that you're going to have to live the life of the wife of a shepherd, waking up super early and working really hard and all this sort of thing. And she's like, I don't care as long as we're together. And he's like, good answer, because guess what? I'm actually a prince from Valencia. I'm not from here, and I'm not a shepherd. My dad's a king, so you're going to be taken care of one way or the other. And she's like, yay, I'm so lucky. And Sagasto's like, well, I guess if you're a prince, then I, have to give up my claim on Amandine, and she's yours. And I believe there's a stage direction that says that Sagasto gives Amandine to Mucedorus, which is, from my 400 years later feminist perspective, a little cringe. But they all decide that this is how it's going to go. Mucedorus and Amandine can get married, and they got to go tell the king about it. So they all exit to go tell the king about it. So the cannibal is dead. Mucedorus has revealed himself. We just got to wrap up a couple more things in tomorrow's monologue, and we'll do a quick recap of the play, and then we'll start in on another one the day after that. So come on back tomorrow for the recap. Mwah.